time for the pinion and oil seal. Now we've got a mark here on this flange, and I'm going to, actually this has already been marked here on the shaft, and pretty much there on the nuts. This has obviously been off before, and I think that will actually do. I think I'll make one more mark just opposite there to show me that that is roughly where it's meant to go, but exactly where it's meant to go. Obviously this film is a huge help, or this video is a huge help doing this, so just one centre punch mark there. There we go. So we've got one in the shaft, one on the nut, one on the flange. So we put everything back exactly where it was. I'm sure there's a special tool which locks this. I'm sure there would be, but I don't have it. So that's that. Right, let's have a look at the other end, what we're going to do with that to secure it. So this is the trolley that this thing is mounted on. You've seen this before. So all I'm going to do is take the end of this, tap it round so it contacts this bit nice of this steel edge, and I'm going to weld it on, because that should, well, I can't see why it wouldn't, do the trick. Right, onwards. That should be more than strong enough just to hold the bolt. Right, let's see how we get on. Right, so we'll give this a go with the windy gun, and if not that, then we'll try a breaker bar. Let's see how this does. That worked. Fair enough. Right, onwards. We'll just file that down there, out the way. Come back to that in a minute. Now I believe this either comes off dead easy, or it's a bugger. So let's have a look. Let's, a couple of taps with this. If this doesn't do it, I'll use a bearing puller. Oh, that feels nice and tight. Okay, bearing puller it is. Come on. That's as far as that one can pull. See if it'll just tap off the rest of the way. There we go. And yes, it's leaking at the bottom. I will just show you where that seal is actually leaking. Stand by. There you go, see there's oil leaking past that seal. Right, so we'll take this seal out, put the new one back in, and then tighten it all up. Okay, first of all, let's see if this thing's going to play ball easily. I'll just put a bit more light on that for you. Let's see if it's going to come out. So, hook and something possibly to lever it with, I don't know, we'll see. Might need to be a little bit cleverer with this, possibly even make a tool to do it, I don't know. Yeah, alright, let's see if we can make something that'll do this. Okay, so this is a little bit topsy-turvy. It's reversed, obviously, this bearing puller, but there might be just enough leverage here just to pull this out. It's not in like a bearing or anything, so let's see if this will drag this seal out. There you go. Bob's your uncle and Fanny's a rude word. There we go. And yeah, it was leaking all sorts of oil on the bottom there. Right, so we're going to give the inside of this all a good clean up, and then we'll put the new seal in, and then we'll pop the dry flange back on. Right, time to put the pinion oil seal in. This time they sent me the right one, which is good, the right size. So all I'm going to do is a little bit of diff oil on the outside of it. Pop it in, and it's just a press through this. There you go. And a light, just a plastic faced hammer. Oop. There we go. Okay, next put the dry flange back on, and I'm just going to put a little bit of copper grease just around there to make things go a little bit easier. And hopefully help the next guy who's maybe got to take this off in God knows how many years. Right, so remember there were marks on here, which I'm going to line up with the mark on the pinion. There we go. But basically just push on. There we go. Next we've got a spacer washer, which I'll just try and get off the magnetic tray. There we go. So spacer washer can go on, and then the locking nut. And remember what we're doing. We're looking to get the markings that we made on the nut to line up with this mark on the shaft. Now this has already had a compression washer in that's been compressed, so basically we're just looking to put this nut back where we got it from. And I'm going to do that with a windy gun, hopefully. And just to save putting any extra pressure on the gears inside, I believe it's a bad idea to just attack this with a windy gun, so I'm just going to lock this flange off with the piece of metal you saw me weld to the table earlier. A little bit more to go. Right, that looks to be just about spot on, but I'm just going to check with the film that we took when I undid it, just to make sure that everything here is lined up exactly the way it was. Right, there we go, just to show you that's all aligned. Yeah, just double check with the video, and that's exactly where that came from. I believe if you're putting a new washer in, a crushable washer in behind all this, then you tighten it up to a torque. But because it's already had the washer crushed, you just tighten it back to exactly where it came from, and that's it, job done. Right, so I'm going to leave this attached to it for now, and we'll go on to the yeah, let's put the hubs back on. Right, you remember these are the end plates, which can also keep the back plates on. They go on at the same time, and these obviously need new oil seals putting in, so we'll just put those in with the press. Right, just a tiny bit of oil just to help this in. You need loads. Just a little bit around here to make sure the inside isn't dry. It barely needs hydraulic power actually to push this in, but you probably just do it with the weight of the jack. There we go. That goes in until it's pretty much flush with the surface, which is about there. There we go, and that's two. Right, time for some reassembling. So, we've got all our parts ready. We've refurbed the bolts, basically just in a grinder with a wire wheel. They come up really, really nice. I was going to put brand new ones in, but, you know, these are absolutely fine. All nice and cleaned up. All the threads are being chased out with a die in the vise. And we're going to put nice new nylock nuts on there as well. So we've got those ready. We've got the end cap with the oil seal all fitted. I'm going to put some oil inside this in a minute just to lube it all up, make it nice. And we've also got our nice shiny brake back plate. There we go. Right, so let's put this together. First of all, I've got a separate oil can which has got some EP90 in it, which is actually differential and gearbox oil. So we give this bearing a nice lube. There we go. And we'll also put a little bit on that spacer. See if that'll spin round so the whole of that oil seal gets some oil. There we go. We line this up. Oop. There we go. Okay. And then the back plate goes on. There we go. And these bolts don't actually need washers on this side. Similar to something on the E-Type, actually. If you look at the back, if you can see it, the back of the bolt, there's like a raised area just inside the flats. You may just be able to see it. I think it's focusing, hopefully it is. And that actually backs it off the plate and the paintwork, so the only part that touches it is a ring here and not the flats. So it enables you to tighten it without ripping the paintwork to pieces. Similar sort of thing on an E-Type. And obviously these are going on really, really nicely because we prepared all the threads beforehand. Because they were all grotty and whatever, and even after being white wheeled on the grinder, they weren't perfect, so it's just a matter of chasing them out with a die, basically. Now these bolts are 9/16, but basically first spanner that came to hand was a 14mm, which is exactly the same thing. So I'm just using that to hold it at the back. We'll do the initial tightening with this, just until it bites, and then we'll torque it on. Okay, and these are torqued up to somewhere between 60 and 65 foot-pounds, which is, according to my iPhone converter, 81 newton meters. Because I inadvertently, quite some time back, bought a metric torque wrench, but I would like a nice digital one pretty soon, so maybe that might be on the cards for Christmas, you never know. Bloody hell, how tight is 81 sudden newton meters? Right, well, we'll keep tightening these up and then we'll see if it really clicks at some stage. One would hope that it would. Bloody stinking hell. Can I just say 81 newton meters is quite tight. That one. That one. It is nice when you start getting these things together again. You know, and the I'm like anyone else, I'm a big kid, so the nice black paint and the shiny steel, the nuts. I do like a nice set of shiny nuts. Boom boom. Aha! It's one. Now, you know what? I probably would have given up on tightness thinking that was really tight before that clicked, so it's a good idea to torque everything up properly. I'll leave a link, by the way, for the converter that I use online to convert from imperial to metric, and also the where the list is of all the torques for the various bolts and stuff on the MG. As I say, I'll leave it in the description. Walk with this, I have to say. Right, done. I'll double check those later once everything's on. Right, onwards. Right, so that's both back plates on. I think I'm just going to have a quick tidy up, clean things a little bit, and then I don't see any reason why we can't put the brakes together. I'll go out and get all the little bits and pieces together, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to do some assembly. Okay, so there's all our parts required to reassemble the rear brakes. Looking at all the photos and all the instructions and everything off the internet, this looks like to be the correct orientation for the levers and the springs. Left is left, right is right. I did film them and photograph them very, very carefully as I took them off so that they go back on correctly. Unfortunately, as you probably know by now, the files have disappeared, so that was that. Right, so nothing left for it except to reassemble them onto the back plates on the axle. Here we go. Now, I am not for a second going to make out that I can remember exactly how all this goes together. I'm pretty sure I do, but I'm not gonna lie. As I say, I've researched this again on the internet. All my photos have disappeared. So if going through this I screw something up, you'll see me screw it up and you'll see me put it right again. It's the same way as everyone else goes about putting these together. So first thing I'm going to do is the obvious one, And that's to put the adjuster on the top. So, pretty sure I'm not going to screw this on. Goes on there. And there's a locking washer and a nut on each side. And these, I believe, are 9/16ths, or are they? No, 7/16ths. Fair enough. So next we'll put on the wheel cylinder. Here we go. Before we put this on, you just have to take off this this nipple, and the size of the nipple is a 9/32. And we just offer this up. You can see where the stud is. It's the correct type. I believe they're different. The position of this stud actually represents different cylinder diameters inside for the midget or whatever. This is the correct one for the MGB, and where you can tell is if it's straight on. There's a big circle that just needs to go on the back, and I'll show you that now. Right, so I've got that far. This is an old pair of pliers, as you can see. Push it on a bit more, maybe. Open them up a touch. There's a little tool you can get to do this, but I haven't got one, so I'm doing it this way, which may well be entertaining to watch, but it's kind of a bit interesting to do for real. There's my other pliers. Oh, you little rip snorter. There we go. Whee! Solid. Oh yeah, we're digging now, so that's how you do it. Probably not. Oh yeah, especially not since this bottom blade hasn't gone in the groove. Now it has. So that's in. This one's in. And that's in. Yes! Onwards! And yeah, obviously once you've done that, you want to screw this back in before any crap goes inside this wheel cylinder. Just put that in loosely. There we go. I'm going to leave the little dust cap on. Right. Okay. Yeah. Next. Right, so before we start putting anything else on, as you can see, I've just put some, basically it's just high temperature grease. A little bit in here, a little bit inside, a little bit on this face. And lower down I've also put it on the wheel cylinder as well. Basically just where the shoes fit into the slots. So it's just a little tiny bit. And then in the other side. Alright, time for the rest of the assembly now. So, first thing that goes on is the handbrake lever, or the actuator lever. And that goes on with the longer bar on top of the shorter bar. I'm working on the right hand side of the car here. Next thing that goes on is, for us it's going to be the left hand brake shoe. Because that's the one that's going to need this spring, or this end of the spring putting in first, and it goes in this hole here. And that now goes into that slot. This is all a bit awkward, so it's not something I've ever done before, so I'm going to do my best here. Like that. And that will sit in there. Okay. Hopefully that will stay where I'm putting it. Get on, you little turd. There we go. I can go in there. Right, let me get the other brake shoe. And this now goes into this hole, and we can hopefully pull it across into the wheel cylinder, and the handbrake goes into the slot. The handbrake lever or actuator lever goes into that slot there. At the same time, I was pulling out all the other springs. What a pain in the ass. However, not very graceful, I grant you, but it is in. Right, now we can do the top spring. How about we pop that in that way? So, pop it on the left hand side first, to that hole, into the slot. Get out of that hide. And although I'm not really stretching it, just helps just to grab that from behind. There we go. There. How are we doing? Is that looking more or less correct? I think that's supposed to stand there. That spring is actually the right shape, to be honest with you. That's meant to be sitting flat against there. But it will. Right. Next thing is the return spring for the handbrake. Which, let's see, now does it go that way? Or does it go that way? I think it goes this way. If it doesn't, I can always undo it, can't I? Up there. Then I must be getting old and weak. If you watch John Twist from University Motors do this, he does it in about 10 seconds, and I don't know how. They must have been training for it for the last 200 years. Come on, you turd. Come on, bollocks. I've had enough of you now. Get in. Yes! And I think that is correct. I think that's it. What do we think, viewers? Wheel rotates that way, by the way, and the thing to mention is that this leading area on the shoe follows the start of the wheel rotation. So if the wheel rotates this way, then you have the gap here. It rotates that way, and you have the gap here. You don't match them, okay? That looks to me to be somewhere correct, I think. I am, of course, going to check, and then once I've figured out where I've screwed it off, I'll change it. Right, let's see. Right, that looks correct. So, next thing to go on are the retaining springs and pins, which are basically, there you go, these. So I'll put this side on first. Pin comes through from the back, through here, then we've got a spring which goes on, and these are the retaining springs which basically keep the screws or the shoes flat to the face. Let's see, there. See what, you wouldn't want one of these in the face, would you? Take a little bit more. There we go. Sure, also it's nice and flat. Okay. And the same again onto the side. Yeah, I always use gloves to work on stuff like this, but I have to say, sometimes they do get in the way and they are a pain in the ass. Okay, how are we looking? That, to me, looks done. Double check again against the manual and everything else, and then we'll see if we can do the other side with a tad more speed and grace. Oh, yeah. And the rubber dust cover that goes on the back. And there we go. Perfect. Yeah, right. Okay, next. Okay, so here we have the left-hand hub, and it just needs a good old clean by the looks of things. Nothing too interesting. Good old scrub down, and probably give it a bit of a paint while we're there. Right, let's see how we do. Okay, that's both of these hubs all nice and clean now. I know they look a bit grubby, but they're not. I've given them a good scuff. They've had a good clean. They've had a good going over with brake cleaning. And obviously you saw from the time lapse they've had a good wire wheeling. I could actually leave these as they are because you can't really see them inside the inside the drums anyway. But it just seemed a shame to put them on and not just give them a little tissy base with a bit of black high temperature paint. So yeah, just give them a quick paint and leave them to dry. Right, we'll see how that goes, let that dry off, and then we'll come back, possibly give it another coat. This stuff comes out at an absolute rate of knots. It's unbelievable. Got to be super careful you don't just have runs and all sorts all over the place. Revlon, because they're worth it. So finally time for these hubs, as I say. They're looking a little bit better than they did, I think. Not bad at all. Certainly a lot cleaner. And no diff oil all over them. Okay, so first thing, knot off the end of here. Back to our parts bags, and we want the, what are we on? One on the left hand side. A small collar for the left hand side. There we go, a little bit of copper slip to make everybody happy. Just put some on these splines as well. As I say, for the next pot bugger that's got to get them off. And I'll put a little bit inside the hub as well. by going mad, just enough to give it the message. There we go. So we said we're going to align all this the way it was before. Centre punch the end of the shaft. Centre punch the face in the hole. You can just see it there. So we're going to put that back where we got it from. There we go. Make sure that's aligned. Oh, a couple of teeth out. Let's make it spot on if we can. There we go. So that goes on. Then the collar goes on. There we go. Then got some copper slip on the fingers, so I might as well put some on the inside of this nut. So a little bit on the threads. I cleaned those off before. You start to put that on. Now the instructions say with this, 150 foot-pounds, and then back it off, or sorry, then advance it to the next hole so we can put a pin in it. So if we do that, hopefully I'll be able to get the torque up that high. It's about 203 Newton meters, I believe, for my metric torque wrench. We know that if that's somewhere near where this punch is, this punch hole is, then it's pretty close. So that should be fine. So I'm going to use the windy gun to get this pretty tight, and then we'll have a look to see if everything aligns, then we'll check the torque. I'll just back it off out of the way a little bit in case something slips. I know my iPhone goes through the window. Right, engage windy gun. These things don't half make this easy. I'm going to have to lock this off somehow. So which way is it going to go? That way. Let's put him, if it'll go. Where we go? I don't know. Maybe it'll go on through. Let's have a look. Right. Let's tighten this up with this, see how we get on. Right, well, just after that one attempt, obviously I'm going to check the torque, but I'm just going to show you where that stopped, and it was a pure fluke. So I'm going to keep this running. Actually, it'll be a little bit bumpy. I'll try and make it smooth. Pure luck. This is where it stopped. If I didn't do this in one shot, you probably wouldn't believe me. I'm trying. Look at that. You can see a line. How cool is that? Right, so I'll try and take it on a little bit more so we can get a pin in, and that should be it done. And we'll check the torque, obviously. Right, so having aligned the holes, cotter pin goes in. Now my understanding is that, obviously I knew this had a long leg and a short leg. Long one goes on the top, put it in this way, and we can bend that over the top of the bolt. So you can take a little bit of persuading in, nothing too much though. Go, and I'll get a bit of pliers. You can do it with your fingers if you really don't value your fingers. What I'm going to do, there we go, and that should just, and that's it done. A lot of people say just to leave this leg sticking out or don't bend it. I'm just going to cut it short a little bit because I don't know, it just doesn't look right to me. But right, that's it. So that's one side done. Let's do the other side. That's it, job done, and I think we can put the drums back on. Fingers crossed this goes okay. The brake drum should go on quite easily. The adjuster's back right off, so these are the shoes are as far in as they can pretty much go. So in theory, brake drum, this thing should go on nice and easy. Right, I'm just going to take off these old chrome wheel nuts. I've just had these on to protect the threads up to now. It's really important you do that as well, because obviously you don't want to get to this stage and have your threads knackered and your hubs all buggered up before you even get a wheel on it. I think I'll show a bit of copper slip on these when they go back on. That one didn't want to come off, did it? Right. Oh, that myself. From when I painted them, the paper's still on the inside of the drum. I think that will probably work a lot better with that off. Right, stand by, I'll just pick this off, hang on. Yeah. There we go. Zips on really nicely. I've got ourselves some nice new stainless steel bridge up screws. You saw the rigmarole I had to do to get the last ones out. So, oh, I'm sure I'm getting a cold. Tiny little bit of copper slip, so the next time these have to come out, it's going to be a bit easier on the next poor bugger. There's one. Just a little bit of copper slip, just touch on my fingers is fine. That is indeed two. That feels fairly square. Obviously when the wheel is on and the nuts are all torqued up, that's going to square that on anyway. Yeah, as we said, tiny bit of copper slip on each of these. So the wheel nuts do actually go on and go off a little bit easier than they came off then. That's it, don't need loads. They've got to come off again anyway, as I say, they're only there to protect the threads. Right, it's this end done. We'll turn it around and quickly do the other end. While I'm just putting these back on, by the way, what I've put on these threads is a tiny bit of copper slip. These are closed end wheel nuts, and what can happen is if you put a lot of grease on here, as you tighten the nut up, you're going to increase the pressure inside this nut because it's got nowhere to go because the end's closed. And as you're tightening it on, as the pressure increases, it's actually trying to push the nut back off. Okay, so probably not a good idea to put all sorts of lubrication on. There's a tiny bit of copper slip on this. It's not going to seal anyway, but you should never put enough to actually seal these threads. Because as the wheel vibrates, if it's actually already trying to push that nut off, there's a danger it could actually manage to do it. Probably a rare occurrence, but it's that's how I understand it anyway. Right, so we'll just get these semi-tightened up and move on to, I don't know, whatever we're doing next. That's it, good enough for government work. That's me done in the garage for today. So that covers most of the refurb on this axle now. Obviously there's a few other bits and pieces I need to attach to it, but I'll probably do that when I do the brake lines that go on this, and then I'll refurb the springs and things. But we'll probably call it a day for this video, because as I say, it's probably quite long, but hopefully it'll make up for the lack of episode 13. If I've got anything wrong in this video, leave a comment and tell me, and I'll go back and fix it, and I'll make sure everyone knows that I've done something wrong, because as again, this isn't my trade. I'm just doing my best from what I see, like yourselves, you know, YouTube videos and PDFs that I download and manuals and stuff. So, you know, just trying to think my way through stuff. So if it helps anyone, great, and if I've done something wrong, I'll make sure to let everyone know. Cheers.